seriously, you can get that. That's yours. Listen to me, people. How do you do? How do you do? You can go live on the screen with my thing here. Listen, this conference is absolutely incredible. What an amazing feat of organization, and I have to say you're in great hands with Hank and John. They're consummate professionals. I got a chance to hang out with them recently. If we could get some audio on this, that would be great. Anyone? Audio, please? Yeah, can you make the audio? Now let's try it for real. I don't think that we're going to have any audio on this, unfortunately. Listen to me. So, this is something that I did. We have a lot to cover, so we have to be quiet. But not me. I tweeted this, right, just on a whim. Come on, people, we're going streaking on Twitter, right? And all of a sudden, all these people were like, all right, I'm in. And I was like, what does that look like? Right? So I asked people to take a picture of their skin and replace their avatar for a couple hours, and we went Twitter streaking. Look at that! It was all over! I'm going to very quickly tell you what I've been up to. I have a new show called theshow.zingfrank.com, and I want you all to be a part of it. One of the things that you have to do in the show is carve a finishing stamp for me. These are some of the over 800 that have come in so far. Once you do that, you send me a picture of it. I send you a card, collection card, where you try to get other people to stamp your card, and then when you're done, something else happens. We have a lot of different kinds of things where we ask you to do stuff. This, for example, was a contest where the photographer Bill Wadman said, take your camera, tell someone that you love them, and snap exactly at the moment that they react. How lovely. Isn't that amazing? That says a lot right there. And I love this. There's a comment underneath this one. It's been such a long time since I've told her. It's been long overdue. Thanks for helping me take down some of that wall. This was another one where you hang upside down and then take a right side up picture of yourself. These are a bunch of kind of fun things. Now this person actually sewed the Ritz crackers onto a paper plate. Isn't that amazing? I don't know if oh, you can hear it. So I'll tell you what that is. That is, I asked people to submit little sounds of their voice and hitting things and different kinds of objects to make individual beats. Then we took those beats and put them into a sequencer and asked people to make loops out of it. That song is 1,000 sounds made into 1,000 loops and now remixed, and we're in the third stage of the project where we have to get lyrics for it. So we're making a crowdsourced song. These are pictures of journals where I've asked people to tear out an individual page of their journal, and they're sending them to me, and you can be part of this too, and we're going to make a life jacket out of them. An actual jacket, a waterproof jacket. Now all these things, oh, and I'm not going to talk about that. We got a 3D printer. So we got a 3D printer, and what we're doing right now is we're asking people to submit pictures of their face, and then we make 3D prints of them, and then we shine light through them to make a giant light wall. Now you're probably wondering, why the hell are you doing all these things? The reason is because we have to fill an entire room in a museum. We're doing a museum show in January, which is a giant collaboration between me and you. So we have a lot of work to do. So please join me, will you? This is another shot of the museum. So, how do you do? How do you do you? Do you? Do you? Do you? Do you? How do you do the you do? I'm going to tell you just very quickly something. There's in this idea of how do you, right? You guys are content creators, you're content makers. And I'm going to tell you what it makes me think of. In the world of psychology, they have this trick, a trick for good communication called content versus process. When you're talking to someone, there's the content, the words that you use, right? I like waffles. I like French toast. That's the content, right? But underneath that is the process, right? There's the emotional content. There's all that other stuff that's being communicated that aren't in the words. And it's interesting because if you're not careful about paying attention to the process that's underneath, all of a sudden those emotions come out in the content. You've been there before, haven't you? Where somebody like, you know, you say, I like French toast, and somebody says, well, you have to make it with cinnamon. And you're like, I never make it with cinnamon. They roll their eyes, and all of a sudden the process underneath is like, what the hell, they're dismissing me. And suddenly you're having an argument about French toast. Now to the outside world, they're like, wow, that guy cares a lot about French toast, right? But that's not true. You're just angry at being dismissed. And all of a sudden, the process is coming out through the content. Now, I think about this in terms of making video blogs. Because, in a way, anybody can talk about content. But there's a moment when you're making a video blog, and this happens to me quite a bit when I tackle difficult subjects, where I'm like researching something, and I have a lot of information, I have a lot of content, but all of a sudden, a little voice in me says, oh, dude, you don't know anything. You're kind of stupid. And suddenly, I start changing the content. And suddenly the content shifts away from something that I know would be much better to show a bigger audience, right? So in the same way, when you're doing content, when you're making video stuff, take a moment and just pay attention to the way that you feel underneath and see if naming it helps you. You'll notice in a lot of the videos that I do, I'll start off with the phrase, I'm mad, or I'm sad today. That's all. I'm not going to tell you why I'm sad, but it's important for me to name it in that moment because otherwise it'll come out in the content in ways that I don't expect. I just wanted to tell you that. Also, here's another quick trick. There's 3 tricks, and then I'm off. I don't know. Oh, I have 3 minutes left. Holy crap. Oh, well, let's just do this. Hey, somebody tell me a word. Pineapple sounded good. Here, have that. Who said pineapple first? It was a lady's voice, sir. It's a duck. Yeah. I carved it out of a potato stamp. Pineapple. So here's like a great example, right? So I'm just going to illustrate that point because I have a couple minutes left. So pineapple. If I was going to do a show about pineapples, I would think about specifically maybe that little tiny burst of pain that you get sometimes on the roof of your mouth when you eat a pineapple. And it makes me kind of think about hot pizza and the fact that we sometimes eat foods that damage us quite a bit. And that reminds me of a conversation that I had with my stepfather when I was young, who said, why don't they have pizzas upside down so you can protect the roof of your mouth? And suddenly, all of a sudden, I get nostalgic about my stepfather and the fact that my relationship with him isn't exactly what it should be. And I can pause for just a moment and say, hey, this kind of makes me feel sad and a little bit old. And right now, in the process of talking to you, I suddenly realize that I want you to like me. Right now. You. Trick number 2, release the excitement. When you're thinking about producing content, the hell? Is there a baby? Is there a baby cat somewhere? One of the most amazing things about watching another person is to watch how they kind of lose control of themselves when they're filled with an exciting moment. And I always say, you really have to notice the moments when you're really excited about a subject or something in your life. Watch what your body does. Maybe you might start kind of like stutter. It might come out of you in a whole bunch of different ways. You might get really big! But figure out what that is. Own that and let it come out. Because I tell you, it's absolutely magical when it does. Another thing, a lot of people ask about how to get more followers. And they want bigger audiences. And the only thing that I would say is I think it's a great idea to get more followers because you can get a lot of things out of that. But parallel to that, while you're doing it, think about designing for one, just you. Because ultimately, if you do become successful and you have lots of followers and lots of money, you're still sort of left with this challenge of how do I make things that I like? So design for one. And that's all I have to say.